You clicked for the raid. You're in the right place. Tonight, we unpack how a Minnesota welfare fraud inquiry turned into a coordinated FBI ICE Treasury operation when agents found over 60 counterfeit passports, 28 flagged bank accounts, and $400,000 in hidden cash. What pushed this from one arrest to a multi-state case spanning the I-94 corridor? Stay as we trace the small $300 to $1,200 transfers that masked larger flows, why 19 people were detained by daybreak, and how overlapping identities exposed a system exploiting gaps across immigration, welfare, and finance. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. A dawn knock for a simple welfare fraud check turns into something else when the door opens. Inside, agents don't find a single suspect gaming benefits. They step into a quiet apartment where the blinds are still drawn, shoes lined by the entry, and a warrant that was supposed to end with paperwork suddenly feels thin. The team moves room to room with calm commands, keeping residents in place and radios low. This is supposed to be a routine stop. Instead, the first bedroom closet produces a stack of IDs that mirror each other. Same face, different names, different birth dates. Not a mistake. A locked tote in the hall resists for a second, then gives, and agents pull out a nest of passports, the stamps inconsistent, the lamination off, and the photos recycled. In the crawl space, sealed envelopes spill cash in odd increments, not rounded, never large, like a ledger written in $20 bills. They start cataloging in silence. Laptops on the table, 2 phones in airplane mode, a printer still warm. The first analyst on scene runs addresses through a database and flags 28 bank accounts, each one tied to overlapping apartments, basement rentals, and short-term leases that flipped every quarter. The deposits tell a story in small lines, repeating transfers in the $300 to $1,200 band, sometimes daily, sometimes in odd sequences that reset at month's end. On their own, each deposit looks harmless. Together, they trace like a stencil laid over a map, identical curves, identical stops. Those amounts raise structuring concerns, and the pattern analysis kicks in. Banks trigger reviews when deposits sit just under common reporting thresholds. But what moves the needle here is repetition and coordination. Different names, same photo. Different accounts, same address. Transfers stacked back-to-back from clustered zip codes. The algorithm sees rhythm. Investigators see intent. Small dollar amounts don't hide when they march in tempo. On a side desk, a binder holds immigration filings. The same headshot appears across multiple applications with minor edits. Cropped tighter, tinted slightly, but the jawline doesn't lie. Supporting documents repeat in tone and phrasing. Employment letters share typos. Dates map too neatly to each other. This isn't a single bad translator or a rushed case manager. It reads like coaching. Forms filled with someone on the line telling applicants exactly which boxes to check and which details to copy. By daybreak, 19 people sit separated in rooms and hallways while agents cycle through interviews. The plan shifts from watch and wait to containment for one reason. Paperwork can burn, flash drives can vanish, and cash walks. They post at stairwells, control exits, and keep phones sealed. In one building, a brief pushback draws uniforms from the perimeter, but the tone stays measured. The goal is evidence intact and identities verified before anyone else gets a call. Then the corridor emerges. I-94 links repeated addresses in Wisconsin, Iowa, and North Dakota. Spreadsheets show transfers routed to consulting outfits that have no leases, no signage, and mailboxes rented under generic trade names. A community program with a disconnected number sits on a strip where the listed suite is an empty unit. Larger hops, $28,000, $52,000, $94,000, jump through these entities, then break apart into the same small dollar rhythm again, like a signal re-encoded after every mile marker. So how do 60 passports turn a local case into a national one? Because the passports match the bank accounts, the accounts match the addresses, and the addresses repeat across state lines using the same transfer cadence. That convergence builds probable cause beyond a single apartment and a single suspect. With the rooms cleared and the last envelope sealed, the focus tilts. What matters next isn't the cash on the floor. It's the trail it kept feeding once it left Minnesota. Why do a few hundred tiny transfers force Treasury to model billions at risk? Because patterns scale faster than balances, and once analysts mapped the rhythm, the ceiling jumped. They take the deposits from the raid, those $300 to $1,200 repeats, and throw them on a timeline. Then they layer merchant codes, ATM locations, and account open-close dates. Lines overlap. The curve that looked harmless in one bank repeats across 5. Shell vendors appear where a storefront should be, and remittance services sit at the junctions. The playbook focuses on cadence. Same-day bursts, month-end resets, geographic clusters that bounce along interstate exits. Each stream looks small. The merged graph reads like throughput. Tension built the moment familiar names surfaced in old narcotics case files along I-94. You had couriers once tagged for cash pickups now listed as assistants or clerks at the same consulting groups that hold the mailbox rentals. Identity overlaps. Birth dates off by a day, addresses recycled, phones traded, slam into historical drug intel. ICE brings travel data, FBI brings forfeiture logs, and Treasury brings SARS flagged months earlier. One room, 3 agencies, and a wall of whiteboards turning micro-movements into a single flow. Now watch the bigger hops. You see $28,000 pushed into a consulting LLC with no lease on record. A week later, $52,000 lands in a community initiative that lists a UPS store box as its office. Another $94,000 moves via an org with no signage, no hours, but a flurry of invoice numbers that don't match any registered contracts. Those funds don't sit. They break into $800, $950, $1,100 and leak out through remittance counters and peer transfers. The ledger looks noisy on purpose. It's a wash cycle. Aggregate, layer, fragment, repeat. The chain of anonymity keeps it running. Cash drops happen at everyday sites. Parking lots behind strip malls, food courts, gas stations off exit ramps. Third-party runners trade envelopes and never see the origin or the destination. Funds hit a domestic account, jump to a shell vendor, then route through an offshore remittance corridor. By the time the money clears overseas, you have 3 layers of separation and a dozen plausible stories for why each hop existed. Endpoints blur because each actor only sees their segment. Analysts then scan people, not just payments. Across immigration and benefits systems, more than 3,200 inconsistencies stand out. Duplicate headshots with slight crops, identical phrasing in support letters, reused addresses tied to different employers that share the same forgotten suite number. In 52 files, the markers cross from sloppy to deliberate. Altered dates, cloned documents, repeat referees. Coaching slides past initial checks when databases don't talk, and it buys time for transfers to move. That gap triggers an oversight pivot. DHS, Treasury, and CMS set up a joint panel to bridge data silos. The mandate is simple. Push identity alerts in near real time, align deposit anomalies with benefits records, and flag duplicates at intake, not months later. The money moves faster than the forms, so the forms have to stop being the choke point. All of it rides the I-94 corridor like a supply chain. Identities shift apartments along the interstate. Cash meets runners at predictable exits. Logistics move in vans that file clean logs but repeat the same rest stops. A single agency can chase one node. The corridor turns nodes into lanes and lanes into throughput.